Alright, welcome back to another episode of Cosmic Reach. This is my pre-alpha world and single player. We're here underneath the observatory in front of the new 1,000 subscriber lamp show, I guess you could say. And this is what it looks like in the daytime. I think during my 1,000 subscriber special, I only showed it at night. I also don't think I've shown what this inner area looks like during the day, where you can't really see the lights reflecting off the snow. It actually looks much better than I thought it would look. If we change it to night, this is what we see. It's very kind of a little bit psychedelic or winter wonderlandy. I was a little bit worried at first that it wouldn't look good in the day, but it definitely does. It looks totally fine. I'm glad that I made the decision to use snow on top of these spruce logs. Because the colors kind of match up pretty well there. But today I was planning on perhaps doing the head of the observatory up there, so finishing the top of it, or maybe filling out the pre-alpha block gallery over here, or doing something else, maybe something in the middle here. Then I decided, well, instead of all that, I kind of want to do another big build. Like when I was doing I didn't show me actually building this lamp area because, I don't know, it was just so tedious and took so long. And at the time when I was making this, my graphics drivers just kept crashing over and over again with this game, as tends to happen. Yeah, I didn't want to have to keep restarting my recording and then having things crash and then potentially lose some of my recording. I just didn't want that to happen, so I didn't record any of that. The next project I want to do is going to be something rather big, and it's just going to be aesthetic, just like that sign up there. As you can see, I have two spruce log pillars up there on the mountain. What I want to do with this is I want to have something to just be able to look out onto the lunar surface from my base and be able to see something interesting that's kind of up high, similar to the sign up there. I think it's pretty much in a perfect spot. You can see the wooden poles. They're not too high, they're not too low. What this is going to be is a table. It's going to be a very large table of wood. These are kind of the legs of the table, those big thick logs. And then there's going to be wooden planks on top of them. And the planks are going to insert themselves into the mountain there. On top of the planks is going to be a bowl with a spoon. What kind of a bowl with a spoon is that? That is the tortellini icon. So my YouTube channel is the icon for my YouTube channel, and just my profile pictures in general right now, at least in the current day, which is April 1st, 2024, is the Unicode emoji for bowl with spoon, which sometimes looks different on different platforms. When I first looked at that emoji, it was the blue bowl with the silver spoon, and that's what I use for my icons. And so I'm going to be recreating that in this world, and I'm going to put it on top of that table. So whenever I look up there, there's just going to be a massive bowl. I don't know if you're going to be able to look into the bowl with glass or anything. I'm not even sure what I'm going to build the bowl material with. Maybe the metal blocks, or maybe aluminum blocks even. But if you look inside the bowl, I want there to be tortellini soup in there as well. And maybe some steam coming off the bowl up above so you can see the steam rising. One thing you'll notice on my screen is in the bottom left it says health 20 okay. I'm currently playing this on April Fool's Day, so there's some weird stuff going on in the game. But you might notice some new blocks in here, like this frowny face. And I think you can also eat cheese in this version and stuff like that. I'm going to ignore all of that during this video. I'm sure it'll go away either tomorrow, or if it doesn't go away tomorrow, then I'll install an older version of the game. Just revert by one version so I can get rid of that text on screen. But for now, it's going to stay there. I made sure that these wooden pillars are 45 blocks of air in between. And the reason I chose 45 in between here and here is because that way I can make sure there's a center to all of this. So when I build big structures, I like there to be a center block instead of a center that consists of 2x2. Because if you use even numbers, your center is going to be a 2x2 area. But if you use odd numbers, then you're always going to have one block that's directly in the center of your structure. And that's also the way that the observatory shaft works. It's a odd number, so it has an exact center. And on that center is that water pillar that you can swim up. And if I didn't have that center, then the water pillar would have to be 2x2. I just don't like that idea. I like there to be an exact center. Now that I'm thinking about it, there's 45 blocks in between these two pillars, but going that way 45 blocks is not going to be easy. It's going to require me to carve out a bunch of this mountain. So I think what I need to do is move these pillars forward, or to the right, this way that I'm flying. Just a little bit. I'm okay with carving out a little bit of the mountain, but I don't want it to be a ton. And actually, I don't know. I think carving out the mountain is fine, and it's kind of aesthetically interesting to have the wooden plank table to jut into the mountain to kind of merge with it. That was my original plan, but now I'm thinking maybe I can just have the table out here on its own and not jutting into the mountain. Maybe that would be fine. I'm not really sure. For now, I'm just going to move these pillars to the right and see what happens. Alright, so I didn't end up moving the pillars to the right. Instead, I just built the other pillars farther out this way. And I still have the 45 blocks in between them all. I double and triple checked that. I want to make sure, because if I get the block width wrong, so if, for example, I have only 44 or maybe 46 on one of these, it's going to screw up the build pretty bad with the bowl on top, and I don't want that to happen, because that'll require me to break a bunch of the blocks that I placed, because this is going to require me to build a lot of circles and then fill them all up. If we stand on top of this first ring, it looks good, and if we jump down from this first ring and look from the bottom, it still looks good. I think it might be a little bit too tall, because if we have the table covering that entire area, and then the soup bowl on top, we're not going to be able to see the entire bowl. We're only going to be able to see the front wall here, and I wanted to be able to see most of the walls of the bowl. So I think I'm going to tear down some of the height on these pillars and then make the table after that. So I'm looking at this from down below. If I proceed with filling in that entire area with wooden planks, then it's going to block my view. I did lower the pillars a little bit, but it will block my view just a little bit more than I want, than I think is acceptable. So I think what I'm gonna do actually is make it a glass table. I'm still gonna have wooden planks, but I'm gonna have glass for most of the middle so that I can see the bowl, the bottom of the bowl and the sides all the way through. Alright, for this time lapse, I just want to talk about, I think I've talked about this before, but I want to talk about it again, and that's my plans for this pre-alpha world. So I'm going to keep playing until the very end of pre-alpha. I'll continue playing on this world, but recently I've been kind of wondering to myself where I want to go with it, and I want to make these big builds around the lunar surface, just around the observatory and inside the observatory. But once I'm done with these few builds, those being the soup bowl and then the head of the observatory and the block gallery and maybe a few facilities inside the snowy area, I don't really have any plans beyond that. So I'm sure there's going to be a few other big builds outside of the observatory walls, but after that, I'm not really sure. If at any point it becomes not so fun to play on this world, then I'll just stop playing on the world and I'll provide a world download. Otherwise, if I continue to come up with new ideas, I'm just going to keep playing. But eventually I'm going to get a world download out so that anybody can see all the builds that I've made so far over the past few months, hopefully, at that point. Another thing that I have to be better about is making backups for my world, because I have no backups so far, and there was one update that really messed with my terrain generation and made some massive cliffs outside of my typical render view, and so I need to start doing that more often. Alright, we're done with the top of the table. I created a massive glass circle, which is 45 by 45 blocks in diameter, and then outside of that I just used the wooden planks. And the reason why I kept off the last two wooden planks from the glass is just because I didn't want the glass on the very side of the table, and the ending two planks, the rows of two planks on the sides matched up with these thick wooden pillars. And if we're on top of this first ring, or really anywhere on top of the observatory, and we look at it, perfectly fine, looks good, it's high, it's pretty high up, so it looks important, and it's big enough such that it occupies a lot of space and will be nice to look at. And if we jump all the way down to the snow and we look up, we can indeed see through the center, and there's not really much obstruction there anymore. There's still the white lines from the glass, but it doesn't bother me too much. So next up will be to create the bowl. And for the bowl material, I'm thinking that I'm just going to do metal blocks this time around. And then on the inside of the bowl, when it's complete, I think I'm going to do yellow lamps to mark the the soup broth, if it's like chicken soup broth or something, and then maybe make some tortellini inside of it. I'm not really sure yet. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just keep it as soup broth. We'll probably use the aluminum blocks for the spoon that's coming out of the bowl. The size of the bowl, I'm thinking, will be close to this glass circle. It won't be 45 by 45 exactly. Maybe something like 40 by 40 or like 39 by 39 to make sure that the circle has a center. Actually, I think that would be a good idea to keep the bowl in odd dimensions, like 39 by 39, because then we could punch out the middle block of the bowl and maybe have some kind of water elevator that rises up the middle of the soup bowl and allows you to get up here. Otherwise, we're gonna have to make some kind of staircase, and I don't really want to do that. I don't think the table would look good with the staircase. All right, I have to complain about this again. So it's this episode has been taking days to get finished. I just keep walking away from the game because the graphics card issues are so bad. It's getting to the point to where I can't even play for more than a couple minutes without everything crapping out and my drivers crashing, and all of a sudden, basically anything that uses the GPU just dies. And I have to restart my computer like 10 times before anything helps. And I hit the Windows key, Control Shift B to try to restart my graphics drivers, and it doesn't work. And between this clip and the next one you're going to see outside the time lapse, the problem actually got so bad to where I just couldn't fix it. Everything was just permanently destroyed, and I had to actually reinstall my graphics driver software completely from scratch, from like a factory reset. And that did end up fixing it, but that takes about 30 minutes or a little bit less to do. And if I have to do that every 10 minutes while playing this game, it's just not going to work out anymore. So I don't really know what to do, basically. And just now my recording stopped working because, well, something to do with these graphics issues. It's just getting to the point where this is not sustainable at all. I can't keep making these videos if this is going to keep happening. I'm going to have to switch over to something else I enjoy doing, unfortunately. So I'll still be able to make the community roundup videos and I guess playing custom maps and things, but as far as I know, the single player world building is just not going to work out anymore, unfortunately. One thing I could try is going back to an earlier version of the game and just trying to pinpoint exactly where things went wrong, which is what that's definitely what I'm gonna end up doing, otherwise I just can't play the game. And I understand that this is a pre-alpha, so the whole point of it is to get feedback on bugs and things that need to be improved, and then feature requests that could make the game more fun when it's actually, properly released and being sold. But man, I've never seen an early release game this bad before. Okay, the foundation of the soup bowl is complete. We have the yellow lights at the bottom. If I change this to dark nights and then I sink down a little bit, here's what it looks like at the bottom of the table. So you can see it does look like soup broth all the way through. The rest of the table is still shrouded in darkness, so I may find a way to light up the legs of the table. I'm not really sure yet. Also, if I change back to normal lighting, I think I'm going to outline this table in logs, and you can also see that I got rid of the overhang. Alright, I moved the logs 2 blocks inward diagonally so that there was a new overhang of planks, and then I got rid of the overhang of planks. So now we do have the glass brushing up against the side of the table here. And I know I said that I didn't want to do that before, but looking at it now, it actually does look pretty good. I don't have a problem with it like this, and I didn't have a problem with it with being surrounded by planks. So next up, I'm going to surround the top table with logs, and then I think I'm going to add another layer of yellow lamps on top of the soup bowl, like kind of in a wavy format if I can manage that. And then I'm going to build a spoon coming out of the bowl as well. And for the very last thing, I'm going to make some steamy waves out of some kind of block above the soup bowl, so it looks like steam coming off the top. And then I think I'm also going to put a water elevator right in the center. And unfortunately, as I was building this time lapse and doing the whole inner soup bowl stuff and everything, and all the lighting around the pillars, around the table legs, my recordings crapped out again because of the graphics driver issues. Sometimes they just kind of linger in the background and rear their ugly heads when you least expect it. And there's just nothing I can do about it. There's no way I can detect if it's happening. because I don't have the recording pulled up on a second monitor or something. I think that's kind of ridiculous that I'd even have to consider doing that. But here you can see some, I guess, kind of like screenshots. Basically, my FPS just went to shit for some reason, and it didn't record properly. And so you can kind of see me building out the upper layer of the soup in a wavy form, kind of like a sine wave, but not really. It's very disconnected. And my voiceover and recording just crapped out again, so now I have to redo this ending part. But you can see, yeah, the soup sine wavy pattern, and then you can see me building out the aluminum spoon there. And then also I'm building the steam that's rising up from the top of the tortellini soup, going up into the air with white lamps, and I think it looks kind of nice. And then I, of course, built the lighting going down the legs of the table as well in yellow lamps. Or actually, I changed them to white lamps at the end. So I'm sorry that this video is kind of somber, but yeah, it's just sad situation all around. But thank you for watching regardless.